So everybody loves cloud, at least in Seattle. Because I used to live in Seattle for about 15 years, so and all the engineers loves the cloud that rains money. So and going to rain money for all those vendors who are going to build products that are enabling enterprises in the cloud. So today's topic, we are going to discuss about PaaS, or platform as a service. So this is an agenda. So how many of you guys have started using PaaS? A little bit? Okay. So, and how many of you guys have started using infrastructure as a service? Okay, a little bit. Okay, so as you this is just a primer on the cloud. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. So there are three avatars, you can say, of cloud, and then all the. If you look at the cloud platforms, they claim about polyglot or multi-language support. So I want to be a little bit funny in this presentation, and I want to show my polyglot capability. I can speak a little bit of Hindi, although Hindi is not my primary language. So IaaS is that means I wish, like every developer wish for infrastructure as a service. I get a VM somewhere, I'll deploy my application, I play around. And PaaS is in Hindi is very close. Means, and then the PaaS platforms are not there yet. They are very close. They are going to do a lot of work. And SaaS in Hindi is mother-in-law. Everybody basically has a hate and love relationship with their mother-in-law. So, and all the developers hate SaaS because they think SaaS platforms is going to take away their job. Like instead of doing Oracle implementation of CRM, we are buying Salesforce. So anyway, so taking that into a little serious note now. So what are the differences between the traditional enterprise applications and cloud-based applications? This is what the differences we think or being at least hyped as a market in the market space. That traditional applications are always deployed inside the enterprise, and the cloud-based applications are always deployed in the cloud or internet. And the cloud-based traditional applications are always customer like internal customer facing and internal applications. And the cloud-based applications are always external customer facing. And I'm gone over the old days of 3-tier applications with EJB or the web tier differently in the different tiers. And that's what the people think about the enterprise applications. And if you look at most of the guys think the actual cloud-based applications use all the different kind of services like cache services, storage, persistence, everything in the cloud. And the enterprise applications are traditionally Java E technology based and has heavy dependency on the relational database, whereas the newer generation applications, everybody think they have to jump into the big data, NoSQL paradigm, and all these different things we think about. But when you start to think about and try to deploy your applications or re-architect your enterprise applications to cloud-based application, think about EJB 1.0. So, everybody jumped into the EJB 1.0 bandwagon and tried to build multi-tier applications with remote EJBs, and then they complained about that these applications didn't scale because you did not use the right architecture. You didn't want, and so think about that before jumping into the cloud-based application bandwagon. The reality. Not all applications are suitable for the cloud. And if you are building a startup, it's great. So you do not have to buy new hardware, do not have to buy WebLogic or any application server or no basically initial investment on anything. You just build your applications and deploy. And I did a small survey myself, it's an unscientific survey, and then I'm just making a claim here that my company do not build any cloud or PaaS platform, so it's not going to be a vendor pitch. It's my independent view of whatever playing around with this cloud platforms for the past year or so. And then it's great for development and testing. The cloud platforms are, because for example, in our organization also, whenever we are running out of the resources in the test environment, we just go to Amazon EC2 and block some VMs and do our testing ourselves. So it's great for enterprises for development and testing, and that's what most of the organizations are doing. The infrastructure as a service and the PaaS platforms. So infrastructure as a service is very popular among a lot of enterprises. Most of the enterprises are using it, and the PaaS are here and still evolving. So as I said, the PaaS is closed. They are not yet. They're closed, but they're still evolving. And the concept of private cloud is gaining a lot of momentum. There are a lot of companies have a lot of different resources. They are not being used or underutilized. So people are trying to build their own private cloud inside their enterprises. And a lot of companies are putting even their 3-tier applications into the cloud. But that's the reality. So why PaaS? Or why do you want, as an organization, why you'll invest in a PaaS platform? Because there is no initial investment. And as a developer, you do not have to worry about the actual infrastructure, like what version of the application server you're going to use, what is the patch on the actual operating system level is going to be, what version of the Java you're going to use. So you just focus on the applications and not on the actual infrastructure. And the greatest benefit is the pay and as you goes or pay as you use kind of mechanism. So instead of buying a lot of hardware and application servers and all the other nut and bolts for putting your applications, you just use something in the cloud, and then based on your load, you can use the elasticity or mechanism of the cloud provider to grow to, and based on your load, you just pay to your PaaS provider or the cloud provider. And there is no ongoing administration cost, like upgrading the patching your application server, patching your operating systems, day-to-day monitoring of all this platform. And basically it's a dynamic scaling. So you don't have to worry about buying this hardware to scale. That's the all thing that you get as a kind of benefits for the PaaS platform. And like in some of the places, mushrooms grows wildly. So the PaaS platforms has grown like mushrooms. So you'll see there are a lot of PaaS platforms, and everybody is trying to bank onto this. But I have taken some of the top PaaS platforms and then played around, try to deploy some of the applications and see what other things make sense. So like Amazon has EC2, has Beanstalk as a Java PaaS platform. Then Cloudbees is one of the leading startup. They have the run as cloud. And then there is another startup called Jelastic. They were initially a Java hosting provider. So they're claiming themselves as a PaaS vendor with Tomcat and Java E. Then JBoss, Red Hat has OpenShift. Oracle has announced this Oracle Cloud, but I have requested many times to get access to that. I had never got any access to that, so I have no visibility. It's supposed to be based on WebLogic, and it is limited availability. Salesforce acquired a company called Heroku. So they were initially Ruby on Rails and other platforms, but they have expanded their platforms to Java. And VMware acquired SpringSource. Before the SpringSource acquired a company called Foundry. So they have the open source Foundry PaaS platform. And there are a lot of other companies are also offering services or like they have a private PaaS for Foundry. Some of the companies are providing in public, but it's still the Cloud Foundry themselves claim itself as a beta platform, not a production platform. So one of the fast or PaaS platform was Google App Engine. So they support both Java and Python, but the Java API support is very, very limited in there. And they have Servlet, JSP, and Google Web Toolkit for the web front application development, and they have JDO and JPA as their persistence tier. And interestingly, they were not giving any access to relational databases initially, but they have now launched their Cloud SQL, which is a SQL-based MySQL platform for relational data storage. And they have the App Engine data store, that's a NoSQL object data store, and they have cloud storage for storing large objects if you want to, like media files or graphic file, whatever you want to. And they have for development platform, they have a Eclipse plugin, and they provide an SDK to build applications. And you can deploy WAR file, not like, for example, when I started this exercise, so I wanted to test really whether these are real Java PaaS or whether you can deploy real applications. So I took 2 different applications and tried to see whether these applications will be deploying to this platform without making any changes. One was the famous JPET store, but it is a modified, the version I took was the modified version of the JPET store that was modified by Spring and iBatis. So the iBatis JPET store doesn't have any EJB. It can be a WAR file that can be deployed with the relational databases. And the other application that I took is a simple application that I built using EJB3 JPA for my book. And then I just try to see how many, what are the things are required to be modified and deployed. And Google App Engine basically failed miserably in that test, because first thing is that you cannot deploy directly any kind of pure J2E application like which has EJB3, for example. And the iBatis application. So when I started the enterprise my exercise, at that time they were not providing access to this Cloud SQL. So I had to make a lot of changes in the applications to use the object store to make it work. But one thing is that Google is a large company. They have very successful in the cloud area. There are a lot of applications. Those are deployed in there. They have good, like, kind of scalability story there. But they have a lot of limitations, like proprietary API you have to depend on. Portability is a big thing. You cannot just take a WAR file and deploy it. There is a very limited control on JVM. For example, I want to monitor something, or you want to add a new jar file onto my JVM, which my applications depend on. You cannot do that, and the size of the application is limited. Like the other thing, basically, all the services, whatever I use, I did not pay for any money. So there might be some feature I may not have available to me. So I used all the free services. Those are offered for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or forever by these vendors. So they have a limited, sorry?
What's the proprietary API you're talking about?
Like, for example, JPA if you want to use, or like JDBC, like if they do not have all those. So like, for example, if your application is using Oracle database, for example, and you want to use that there, having access to your Oracle database. Yeah. That's a WAR file. Yeah. So this is like an example of like how, like, what are the things you need to do, for example, for a database connection. So if you have to use the Google RDMS instance name and guest book, for example, to make changes in your and then this is an example of the Eclipse plugin. So I have a lot of slides to cover. So I'll go a little bit fast. So Amazon Beanstalk. So Amazon is very popular in the cloud environment like EC2. So they support the Beanstalk environment, supports Java, PHP, and .NET. And Java API is basically, so it's a web app, it's a embedded Apache Tomcat 7 container. So you can, if you have a WAR file, you will be able to deploy the WAR file into the container. It's just a web-based application. And if you have database usage, Amazon EC2 has a lot of variety of databases. They offer relational database like Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server on the cloud. So you can, if you are comfortable enough to use your data in there, you can put your data in there, then you can use it. And they have a NoSQL database, Dynamo DB, and they have a lot of other functionality. Like for example, if you want to send email, they have a simple email. If you want to store large objects, they have all different kind of. And for development, they have a Eclipse-based plugin and SDK. And the good thing was, like, if you have a standard WAR file, you can just take it and deploy it. It provides some limited access to the JVM, so you can make changes to the JVM parameters. And they provide some limited monitoring of the container. The limitations is only web applications, and it's based on Tomcat. So if you have an application, so it is, for example, if you want thinking to move from WebLogic to reduce cost to the cloud, then you have to make some changes in there. So this is like is very easy to use. The UI is very intuitive. So if you want to create a first application, like if, for example, you said, okay, you want this 32, create a new application, deploy where your the URL could be. It's a very easy to use, intuitive environment to deploy your applications. And they provide some capability to, for example, change the heap size. If you have a larger VM, and you can change some of the command line options. And if you want to really rotate your log file to basically S3, Amazon S3, then there's a simple storage service, then you can do that. And like if you are using a monitoring service, like let's say New Relic or my company's BMC application diagnostics or AppDynamics, then you should be able to change, use this, because they allow you to change the JVM command line parameters, because all this monitoring agent sits as a Java agent parameter, and you'll be able to change that one. Then Red Hat OpenShift. So this is fairly new. This supports, again, they talk multiple languages. Java, Ruby, Node.js, Python, PHP, Perl. So they want to get all kind of different kind of developers hooked to a platform. And the Java API is primarily based on JBoss. So this is a good thing, is that if you have a JBoss application, it will be fairly easy to move that application to the cloud, OpenShift cloud. They have something called cartridge-based platform. So out of the box, for example, if you have just JBoss and you want to add database service based on MySQL, for example, you add a cartridge to that. And they provide out-of-box experimental application config, and their persistence is based on MySQL and MongoDB, and they provide a Eclipse-based plugin and an SDK. But the deployment and management is a nightmare because it's a fairly new tool. There is no graphical user interface to do that, so it's primarily based on JIT, and there is no web-based management at all. And from right now, whatever it looks like, it's primarily developer focused, not yet there for production ready deployment. So if you and the way they approach their environment at this moment is like, for example, you have like out of the box config with like Spring simple application or just Java simple application. So it's kind of now it's a playground for developer to play around. It's not there ready for production deployment. So this is a example of OpenShift. So you just pick the URL, and then how do you deploy your application? So they tell you, okay, this is the way you deploy application, or this is the way. So you have to install the client on your laptop or desktop to deploy your applications. Next one is VMware Cloud Foundry. It supports, again, they talk multiple language, Java, Ruby on Rails, Node.js, Scala, and it's primarily, the Java is again Spring-based Java. Persistent services are either MySQL or Cloud Foundry, or they call Fabric. Postgres is a modified version of Postgres, and the NoSQL is based on other, it could be used MongoDB, Redis, and they also offer their MQ, RabbitMQ as a part of that service. And their development is again based on Eclipse. It's fairly standard for like everybody probably uses Eclipse these days. And they have a little bit different approach. So they provide a local development version, local version of that. So they call Micro Cloud Foundry. So it's a VM that you can play around, like when you do not have connectivity to the internet, because all this PaaS platform, whenever you're doing deployment or anything, you need connectivity to the internet. So their approach is a little bit different. So you have this Micro Cloud Foundry, which is a VM, which is a local version in your laptop. So you can play around the development in the Cloud Foundry environment, and then you can deploy that into production environment. And right now, again, they do not have any good UI. Primarily, it's command line tools, and it's not production ready. They still claim beta. But there are several other vendors like ActiveState, a company called ActiveState, because it's open. Cloud Foundry is an open source project. So ActiveState is a company, a startup. They are offering private PaaS offering based on Cloud Foundry. And there is another company called FROG. They claim like the Cloud Foundry options, whatever they provide is a production ready platform. Again, limitations is primarily developer focused. Portability is a big problem. I mean, I couldn't run their own version of the JPET store, the Spring version of the JPET store, directly on the Cloud Foundry without making some changes. And they have a lot of limitations. For example, the Spring Pet Store requires some database tables to be created in the underlying data store. So I try to use the MySQL version, whatever they provide, and it's a kind of touching your nose like this for creating the table schema in the database. So again, it's a kind of a development. Right now, it's not a production-ready platform. So this is an example of the VNC, the toolkit that you can use to deploy your applications into Cloud Foundry. Cloudbees. So Cloudbees offers two kind of services: one the Jenkins and the Java PaaS platform. They support Java, Grails, and Scala. And primarily Java API web-based platform, and their persistence is based on MySQL, and they have MongoDB, CouchDB as a service from a separate company, Postgres, if you are using Postgres database, and development is either Eclipse-based or SDK-based. And if you have a WAR file, it's very easy to use and deploy the application. They have a web-based UI, and they have partnered with New Relic and AppDynamics for JVM monitoring, but very limited access to JVM, and it's not full they support for Java EE. They are claiming that they have Java Web Profile support, which is a lighter version of Java EE. But it's not again full Java EE support. But it's fairly easy if you have a simple web application with a MySQL on the back end. So it's primarily, if you are building a startup, it's a great place to start with. So this is like an example of a Cloudbees UI, and they provide some basic monitoring capability of the underlying VM, like memory, CPU, number of transactions, all this. This is a the good thing, or what I liked about Cloudbees, is that they provide direct access to the MySQL database. So I could create my tables and schema for my applications. So they provide me the actual URL. It's based primarily, whenever I tried, it's based on EC2. So they give me URL. I could connect directly using MySQL, the client tool, and could make manipulation of the database. But as I was telling you, as a free version of the database, so every other transactions failed because they kind of put my because I'm not paying for, like if my VM is not being used for example 15-20 minutes, they kind of sleep my VM and my database service will not respond. But anyway, so I was using a free service, so I can't complain. Jelastic, this is another platform. They support primarily Java, and then they're based on either Tomcat or Glassfish. They provide the full Java EE Glassfish service, and the DB service is MariaDB. So I basically MySQL forked, so it's a fork of MySQL, and they provide also Postgres support, and MongoDB is for NoSQL platform, and again they provide a Eclipse plugin and SDK. And deployment and management, one good thing was, I liked about, was that they provide me full access to the underlying Glassfish server. So I could access the Java EE console, what Glassfish offers, and do deployment, configuration changes, whatever I could do. The limitations was, stability was a big issue there. Like for example, when I deploy an app, the VM crashes sometime. And the ecosystem is a little bit limited there, and the database is primarily MariaDB, which I don't know how good or bad it is. So Jelastic, like as I was telling you, so it provides direct access to my Glassfish console. So it was, you could manipulate whatever you want to do. So there was the last one in the base is Heroku. So Heroku is primarily started as Ruby on Rails and other platform, and they are kind of because most of the developers, or more than 2 million developers, are using Java, so they are embracing Java platform, and their Java API is primarily again very limited, Servlet, JSP, and Google Toolkit, sorry, GWT. That's Google Web Toolkit, and they're based on OpenJDK, and persistence is MySQL, Postgres, and MongoDB, and deployment is like you have everything you have to deploy as a using their toolkit. You cannot just package in a WAR file and deploy it as a web application, and they have partnership with New Relic, which has which provides visibility to your application, but limitations is a lot of proprietary API. But they announced last week in Dreamforce they are going to have proper support for Java, and I'm hopeful of that. And then basically you have very limited control on the underlying VM, and on the Dynamo process, basically maximum is 512 MB is the JVM size. This is an example of Heroku. So how you can deploy your applications into Heroku using their tool. So this is a comparison of different platform. So you don't have to, I don't have to read this. You can download this presentation from the Java 1 resource. I've already made it available as a PDF file. So you can look at yourself and then do the comparison, which one is good versus which one is bad, and what you are looking for. The main thing is expectation from what you are looking for. So what I found, what are the issues I found with the PaaS platform? is most of these platforms are very, very developer centric at this moment. So when you choose a platform, you do not just build the application and put in the cold storage. You build this application, then you build this application for your customers' use, for regular use, and where you want to see the return on investment. So you want some capability in deploying the production, monitoring, getting visibility in your applications, and fixing it. And so, and then many of these customers are looking to reduce their cost so that they can get rid of this old hardware, and they don't want to buy new hardware and move to a PaaS platform. So that way, you cannot just take your existing applications and move into the PaaS platform, because they have very limited Java EE support. And the other thing is that there is no standards, so because everybody is still evolving, so you cannot just deploy your app more than one platform. So whenever you have chosen, for example, let's say Cloudbees or Cloud Foundry, and you want to change in future, you have to make a lot of changes. And the other thing is that there is very limited access to the underlying infrastructure. Like many of these applications, at least I have worked, they send emails, and you deploy your applications in the cloud. And it's a customer-focused application, and most of this platform do not have even ability to send outgoing emails. You have to leverage an external services to send emails. So that is the biggest limitation, because if you are using this kind of platform, it is built and deployed in cloud, the basic thing you need is ability to send emails. And most of these platforms, they do not have without leveraging an external services. And many applications basically depend on config files, like they get as a system as a resource file, and based on whatever the configuration changes. And there is most of the platforms do not allow you to use any kind of, provide access to the underlying platform to make any kind of config file changes. And then testability is like, for example, you have to always depend on the internet whenever you are using the PaaS platform, unless you're using the next generation. Probably they are going to have the private PaaS offering from many vendors where you can test it locally. The other thing is the security. So security is a big concern for enterprise. Are you ready to put your data in the cloud? That's the first thing. So if you are ready to put your data in the cloud, then probably you are good to go there. And most of these have very early production deployment, and most of have like DB services which is dependent on MySQL. MySQL is a very good database, but many of these enterprises, like if you use Oracle or DB2, which are not offered by most of these enterprises, the enterprise or PaaS vendors yet. So like, for example, this is an example, just I think this is a little bit misplaced. This is here. So like how the resource references in a PaaS platform works. So you have to depend on the actual store. Like, for example, Debo store is the my database in MySQL there. So the best practices is that don't jump into the bandwagon yet. It's like, in my view, it's like the stage of like 2000, like about 10 years back, everybody was trying to jump into this EJB 1.0 bandwagon. So it's the same stage now. After 12 years, is like all these PaaS platforms are there, 1.0 version, and so wait for the 3 version at least. So look at your application. Do not like just become. So when you build your application, you build for your enterprise, for your business. Do not build for yourself, just to re-architect yourself, just to learn PaaS platform. And build and settle for a platform where the whole premise of Java once is there, like for write once and run everywhere. So and that's the biggest promise for Java. So, and then look for your security requirement, whether your applications really you do not care about the security, then and look for the private PaaS. Like many of the organizations, they are using private cloud in there, in them. Like for example, instead of having lot of different big hardware and across their organization, they are consolidating and building their private cloud. So maybe private PaaS environment makes sense for you, and look for those who are emerging. And this is a very unscientific survey I did. So I blogged it, tweeted it, and then also in DZone I posted a survey and like about the PaaS adoption in the enterprise. So how many people have really adopted PaaS and evaluating and also out of I think so far 120 people who have responded to the survey, 73% said they are not even evaluating for the next year or two, and 5% they said they are using. So maybe some of my people like me or some of the vendors who are offering PaaS. So I don't know who those are, but 10% they said they are evaluating, and 12% they said they have planned but not evaluating yet. Okay, so that's my the conclusion for today is Java PaaS are available for many vendors. Like if you remember 2000, there were some 25 application servers vendors. Now we have, if you count on fingers, one hand would probably have number of application servers available in the market. So wait for those. And Java PaaS are in a very early stage and have a lot of portability issues. And choosing your platform. Like you remember, there was a great application server called Bluestone. If anybody has remember, but they faded away because they were required by HP and HP. so think about this. Like all those great application servers, those existed in 2000 and they are nowhere. So wait for the dust to settle a little bit before you jump into the bandwagon. And for the time being, if you look at deploying or building if you're just building your application, how much time does it take to configure Tomcat or JBoss or Jetty in your laptop and a MySQL database or even Oracle XC database? Less than an hour. And if you can do that in your laptop, if you have a service, then why do you care what for the PaaS as a kind of a development platform? But if you are really looking as a production platform ready, you have to wait in an enterprise. So that's what it is. So if you are any of the PaaS vendors sitting here who wants to claim me?
Did you look at costs at all comparatively?
Yeah, cost is definitely lower for smaller applications.
Are there any standouts amongst the ones you looked at in terms of price leaders?
Yeah, so out of all these things, to be fair, I like the Cloudbees offering the best. And Jelastic has promised, and I was talking to them yesterday. They have supposedly fixed their scalability and unstability issues in the past 1 to 2 months time frame. Yeah, so there is, if you look at the PaaS platform, so there is no standard itself. Yeah, OpenStack is primarily for NASA one. That's from infrastructure as a service primarily.
What about the Java E7 or 8? That's what is standardized?
Yeah, they are standardizing some of the concept, but not the platform itself. Like for example, there is a requirement in the application. For example, if you are offering JMS as a service, so there is no concept of multi-tenancy there in the JMS. So and think about if you are using TopLink or JPA, and you are storing all these database applications in one table, and you want to really offer multi-tenancy for the table. So there is no concept of multi-tenancy in TopLink or Hibernate or JPA itself. So those are the things they are standardizing. I don't think anybody is standardizing the PaaS platform yet.
Assuming applications, we need to configure a load balancer in front of that, an HTTP cache, etc.
Yeah.
If you look at the offerings of these platforms, so this operation configuration.
Yes, so definitely. So that's what I was saying. Basically, so the grand promise of the PaaS platform is providing scalability and all the administration cost. Basically, no administration cost or this startup cost for you. So if you are just trying to deploy your applications in a production environment, a highly scalable environment, and these guys really provide a great service in elasticity and stability, and you do not have to put your cost in your organization. You can just leverage these services. So for a startup company, for example, if you do not have all this in your in-house, then you can use the PaaS platform. But the PaaS platform are not ready yet, so you can use IaaS, like for example, infrastructure and service from like. How much time does it take to configure Tomcat in a VM? Just download and unzip it. And then, do you really care to use a PaaS platform to use a Tomcat container? And then, for example, Amazon will provide you elasticity for the underlying VM if you want.
Yeah, but with the infrastructure as a service, you then have again the problem of the application operations. You have people around 24/7 who look after the application, etc.
But so none of the PaaS vendors are going to look at your applications. They will make sure that the actual container are up or not. So you still have to have the application monitoring by yourself, and that's the reason. For example, all these PaaS vendors are kind of partnering with the monitoring SaaS vendor like New Relic and AppDynamics, and they're offering the so that as your application support personnel, you have to do the monitoring of yourself. The PaaS vendors are going to make sure that your VM doesn't crash or the database doesn't crash. They're going to make it available, or if you have the rate elasticity configured properly, then if there is a lot of load, then they can fork a new VM for you. That's what they're going to do it, but not the actual application monitoring or diagnostics. If you want to do that, you have to use a SaaS. You don't have to worry about. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
So why did you say your favorite was Cloudbees was the last one out?
Yeah, Amazon is, sorry?
They seem like they have the most mature offering.
Yeah. So Amazon is like, for example, if you are looking just for Tomcat, then Amazon is bin stock is very good. Yeah, and they have the UI and everything.
So why did you like Cloudbees runs on top of it?
Amazon, yeah. So the UI basically the UI what Cloudbees provide, and the partnership they have for monitoring, and also they have, like for example, easy partner. For example, if you want to do a log correlation of your applications, so these guys like Cloudbees provide, they has partnership with a company called Papertrail, so you can do like switch all the log files and then do the log correlation by them. So they have built a very good ecosystem around them, and also their development platform like Jenkins, wherever you are building versioning and build systems, is also integrated in there.
So it's one of the reasons you didn't like Amazon as well, because you couldn't take a JTE app and just drop it in.
Yeah. So yeah.
How do the companies deal with upgrades to like some modules? If they need to upgrade the database, do they push it out on everyone, or do they give you the option to upgrade to different versions?
Yes. So so I didn't buy kind of a subscribed service, but supposedly they take care of themselves. So you do not have I haven't, like whenever I signed up, I didn't see an options to take an option. For example, there is a patch you do not want a patch to be rolled out. So whenever they find, for example, a security bug in underlying Java, so they will upgrade that for you without you being dependent on them. or you cannot decline. As far as I understand, you cannot just decline pushing out a patch on the underlying platform.
Yeah, can I ask a question? Yeah, thanks for the presentation, by the way. It's very good. I wanted to figure out in an enterprise, right? If you're trying to use infrastructure like say EC2 or even like say Google App Engine, right, in the enterprise world, there always be some kind of systems that are running there on the local network, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how does this integration work?
They provide a kind of VPN. They provide some VPN kind of capability. For example, Amazon provides a kind of a, so it's kind of provide, you think about those as your basically as a part of your local network. Right. So they provide a VPN kind of capability. Yeah. Connect to, yeah. And that kind of, they operate as a part of your network, you can say.
I'm just curious, is this kind of your own personal research, or does this have something to do with your work at the engineering? So, it's basically, so when I started, like, I am a product manager for application performance management. So as there is as a product manager, I think always 2 years, what are you going to do, or 3 years. So as a part of this, because all the PaaS platforms are gaining momentum, or getting at least a lot of press, so I thought, okay, we should invest now, look at this so that we can make our product ready for the PaaS platform monitoring. So as a part of that, I did this research.
What product are you working on?
I work for the application performance management product. So we have a product called BMC Application Diagnostics. Okay, so I think if you know more questions, then thank you very much for coming, and have a good, nice sunny day in San Francisco.